Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I have a design team project to show you from Poppiness, which is Susan Taylor Brown, and I'll put the link below so that you can find these gorgeous pictures. The set that I've used today is called Kiss Kiss, and I've also used a little bit of one called Hand in Hand, and those are suitable for Valentine's Day, but I mean they make great wedding album covers or engagement type cards or anything like that. They're very sweet and innocent, the most gorgeous little children. I have put together a set today which I'm using as ephemera for a journal, and towards the end I'll show you how I used that. But I also thought that I might run through just how I made one of the cabinet cards so that you can see that the technique that I used, and just give you a little closer look at them. So the kit that I used was the kit Kiss Kiss, and a couple from Hand in Hand, which is this one, and they're very similar. They're quite old-fashioned. They're in the black and white tone, which you could print sepia if you wanted to, and they're just gorgeous. They're just really cute little innocent photos of children. And she also has an adult version too of grown-ups, so it's just one that I've cut out that I've been working on. The girls holding hands, the cute little kids. They're all just the sweetest little pictures. Anyway, that's where you can find them, and I shall put the link below. I'm not sure if this camera will pick up the small writing, but you'll find it below anyway. I'll just show you quickly some of the ephemera that I have made, and I made these cabinet cards, which are all made from scratch, and I'll go through the process with you after so that you can see how they are done. Just tea stained card on the back, and they come up very well and make very nice ephemera for vintage journals. And that's another one there that I've done with a little bit of the gold wax and made the heart a little bit reddish on that. So that's so sweet. I love that one. They're so gorgeous. Little cuties. And I put a ribbon through this one just to make it a little bit fancier. You can do whatever you like to dress them up. You can have them plain like cabinet cards, or you can actually make them really fancy. I've got on the back of this one some tea stained writing paper so that you can actually write on the back of that and use it for journaling if you want. A little bookmark with a tag with this little cutie. She's so sweet. Oh dear little thing. So it comes with some tiny little ones to cut out as well as the larger ones. And this is another one of my absolute gorgeous favourites, and I've just framed that in an embossed little oval frame. So sweet. And a tag which I've just added some satin bias binding to, and another one in the oval frame, and I've made a pocket with this one that actually has a tag in it. If I can just pull it out, you can see it has a little tag as well as the pocket itself, so you could use that to glue in as a pocket, or you could use it as a floating pocket, and you can write on the back of those as well. So that just slips in the middle there. And I've made a tag here with a splash of red to give the Valentine's Day red through, a little red pin. And that dear little egg and nest design come from Pamela from the Paper Outpost. That's a cute little design. And the kids there in front of the shop by the looks of it, with the Wrigley's chewing gum and the Coca-Cola from the good old days. And I've made a couple of little postcards, which are just basic postcards that I have stenciled and added a postage stamp to, which was gifted from my friend Jean. Thank you very much, Jean, who made these herself and coloured them in. They're gorgeous Australian stamps. And so I've got the little children playing on the back of that one, and there they are, just sweet, all done up in their fancy little outfits on that one, and another of Jean's lovely little stamps on the back. And I just used the basic postcards which were from Mrs. Cogg's collection. They're very handy because you can just put whatever you want on those. And then I've made a little love heart book, which is just a little book of tea stain papers. You could put any papers you like in them, but I've made a little pocket on the front, and I think this may have been, I'm not sure, but I think it might be one of Gina from Firefly Studio 67's 60-day challenge. I think that's where I got that idea from, where you have the little tuck pocket on the front and then a cute little tag, and I just put a ring on it, which means you could hang it off your book if you wanted to. And I just, with one of the tiny pictures, I made a tiny tag which I've put a little button and just a tiny bit of muslin there just to give it a little bit of extra. So that's those. So now I'll just move over to my work desk and I'll show you how I made the cabinet card. Okay, so this is what you need to make these cabinet cards, and I'm just going by the seat of my pants here, seat of the pants crafting as Wendy calls it. So what we need to make our cabinet cards, and I must say that this idea actually came from Eva from Bohemian Crafting, so if you haven't seen Eva's how-to on this, I'll put a link below for hers as well, but this is the way that I do it. So you start with just a plain piece of vanilla cardstock, and then you find whatever you've got in your stash that works as a cutter. So I think this one might be a Stampin' Up! One, and you just go and slice your card to fit your cutter so that it suits what you're doing, and there are many different shapes that you can use to achieve that particular style. You could just use a plain oval if you liked. So you go and cut that, and then to get your pattern on the bottom I used an embossing folder, and this is another little Stampin' Up! One. You could use whatever you have that has a pattern that you like on it or that you think would work on a cabinet card. So you just work out where you want your pattern and roll that through. So in light of that, I have one that I've done earlier so that I don't mess around and confuse you all off camera. So once you've done that, you end up with something that looks roughly like this. And I also use a piece of tea stain paper on the back. So to get your colour, I use Distress ink. I've used Walnut Stain and Vintage Photo, and you just apply it until you're happy with it, depending on how dark you want. To start with, I put it on pretty heavy. I just go around your edges, and it doesn't really matter if you get some, you know, strange scratches and odd things, because you will blend them in as you go. But I tend to concentrate on your edges, so you've got nice dark edges around the outside, and you can just go in a sort of this kind of motion with your Distress ink, and it does help if they're a little bit sort of worn out, if they're not too overloaded. And if you've got one that's very new, you might find it easier to use either a sponge or one of these, or even your little brush if you prefer, whatever you find easiest to use. I find because you want to apply a lot quickly, I just go for the sponge first, and that just helps you with the blending. So I just go in a circular motion until I've got it sort of covered, and eventually your white, your vanilla colour will start to disappear, and you'll gradually get it faded out to a more, just take the lid off both of those, a more sort of browny colour. And I go with the darker one first and come in with the lighter one afterwards. But I just do it gradually so as that you're not so heavy-handed that you find that you've drowned it too soon, you know, with one heavy colour. Eva is very good with doing these. I guess that comes from experience. She knows exactly how much to put on and how far to go. She has probably done thousands of them. But this is how you sort of get it to look that vintagey antique look. You see it's coming up quite dark now, and it's picking up over the top of where you've embossed, which gives you that nice stenciled look. So I concentrate a little bit more on that to get that real darkness up on that area. And you don't want it all sort of too even, you might want some light bits shining through. So that's sort of stage one, and then I come in with the lighter colour, and I tend to use this for the lighter colour, and I just work my way around, just blending in any bits that might look a bit odd. But remember that with cabinet cards, especially aged ones, they have a lot of wear and tear, and they've been damaged in the course of 100 years of floating around and getting caught up in this and that, being looked over, and people picking them up and moving them and maybe ending up at a tip somewhere. Who would know the lifetime of those? So once you've got it to sort of the stage that you're happy with it, if you don't want to keep going, you just decide when you've had enough, when it's dark enough for you. You might not want it as dark as others. You know, some of them, I've done this one very dark and this one very light, so it just gives you an idea of sort of what depth of colour you actually might like. So this one is quite dark in colouring, and I've just sort of gone a bit lighter as I've gone along, just to give you a different view of how it turns out. So we'll say that's enough for that one. That's sort of middle of the road, in between colour. But you can keep going if you want to. Then on the back, I just find a piece of coffee or tea stained paper, so that gives you your back piece. Cut out one of the lovely Poppiness designs. This is one of my favourites, the little children in the flower patch, which is cute, and they've got the most gorgeous little old outfits on, the little trousers, overalls, and their sweet little dress. They're gorgeous. That, you pop your frame over it to the spot that you think fits the best. You might have to sort of move it around a little bit so till you find the spot that you like, and then it's just a matter of gluing it down. Now, to get it right, I find the easiest way is with whatever your favourite glue is to use, is to just go around the edges of the frame, and that way it grabs it. You can always add more glue later if you want to, but you're gluing onto the back of it another sheet of paper, so it will be covered anyway. As long as you've got your little edges like that, I find that's really enough to grab to it, and it helps you to decide whereabouts you want to put it without having a mass of glue, so you can line it up. Hopefully I'm in camera there, sorry if I'm not. It helps you to line it up there so you get an actual better view of that. Then what you do is you add your paper to the back, so you'll just glue down. I tend to use a glue stick for the bulk of it, and then around the edges I come in with my stronger glue. So just glue stick around the very middle. I know that everybody's glue stick is different, everyone has their favourites, but because they are unreliable and some of them don't stick very well, I don't rely on them completely. So that might be what you want to use your bulk area with, but I always go around the edges with something a little bit stronger. So in this case I'm using the art glitter glue, but you can use any tacky glue or whatever your favourite glue is to stick it down. It's only paper, so you're not trying to glue anything too heavy. So I just do that all around your very edges to give it that little bit of extra grip. So that's going to go on there, and then you trim your edges off later. I always make my paper just a little bit bigger than what you're working on so that you've got room to manoeuvre, because, well, if you're like me, you can never cut the paper straight no matter what you do. So I always make it so that I can actually just cut the uneven bits off afterwards. So I really don't know how you'd be able to get it perfectly straight otherwise. So you just grab your any old scissors and trim then around your edges once you're satisfied that it's nicely stuck down. And there you've got the very base of your cabinet card, which you can come back in and decorate any way you like. You can do all kinds of designs. You could add ribbon, as I've done. You could add flowers or buttons, little bits of fabric, some fabric trim. You could do a ruffle if you wanted to do a fancy little ruffle onto it, you could. And there's so many options that you could do with that idea. So they're quite simple really, isn't it? Not hard at all. And thanks to Eva for that idea. She's a whiz when it comes to these vintage ideas. She's got so many of them. So there you go. So that's your basic pattern. And what I'll do now is I'll show you the book that I've made for these to all go into, and I'll put some of that ephemera back into this book. So I had a special request from a lady who would like to know how I do my wax seals. So I thought that I might just show you on this project how I actually do them so you can see. There are different types of waxes, and I tend to prefer the wax sticks, but I have noticed that some sticks are better than others. The quality of the wax is very different, and it does make a difference as to how it melts and how easy it is to work with. There's a lot of little kits you can buy, like this lovely kit from 7 Gypsies with the beautiful silver wax, and it has 3 choices of words: thank you, thinking of you, and top secret. And it has a little smaller handle. I prefer myself these big handles because they're easy to work with, and they're chunky and solid, and these really hang on so they're not going to slip off on you. But that's just my personal opinion, of course. My favourite wax is this one here, which is from Stuart Horton, and it came in a set, which was not cheap. I will tell you, it was expensive, but it was worth it because the quality was so good. And it came with its own waxes, a red one in there and a different coloured one, silver, red and silver I think, and blue. I got the blue too. So that the handle for that one was very similar to these. It's a nice strong handle, and I use that a lot for my books. Towards the end of the pages I usually put a little stamp in with my sort of business card. So that's my favourite one, but I'll try using 2 different waxes today so that you can see the difference. And I will light this off camera so that we don't upset any children around or teach them to play with fire, which is probably not good. But one thing I've found have to let your wax melt, so you're actually getting that little melted section around it, and I keep turning it to get that nice soft wax until it starts to drip, and then you drip it just on your page, so your flame is actually doing the work for you. And you drip it, you watch where your drips are landing and try and get it in as round a circle as you can, and just keep dripping it gently until you got enough to stamp the design that you want. And don't feel you have to rush it, because the wax is dripping very slowly, so just keep an eye on that. Of course, don't burn the house down while you're doing that. All precautions must be taken. And I really don't mind if I have a rather strange shape, because I like that the look, but you can always go in and just make it rounder as you go, depending where you put your drips and how big you want it. I mean, some people like it to squish out everywhere and give you that really squishy effect, and some people like it really neat and tidy. So for me, I would say that's probably about enough. That's as much as I would do. Keep turning your wax so that it melts evenly on your wax stick, like that. So that's probably heaps, I would say. So I'll just try and stop that from setting off the smoke alarm, and make sure you put it down in a really safe place, and make sure that it's not still burning. And then there's no rush for this, you can let it set a little bit, it's not going to make any difference, there's no hurry. So I just very gently sit my tool on top. You can take your hand off it, you don't need any pressure, it will just take the shape itself, so that when you lift it up you'll get your imprint where you put it. So I hope you can see that. I was going to suggest too that if you wanted to put a feather, as I like to do feathers in mine, that you can. Can you see that? I'm hoping that you can. I have no idea how well this is focusing, so I'm hoping that you can see this red one to work, hopefully. And we can stick something on that one. What will we put on that one? Heart. Put the feather. Do the feather again. Oh, we've got one of those little ones. Oh! Is that flying? What's on that one? Feather in an ink pot. We might use that one. Small one. Just waiting for this to melt a little bit. Okay, starting to now. I want to set fire to my little feather. I'll get some to drip on the feather just to hold the tip of that down. Get a little pile at the end happening. Whoops, this is a very fluffy feather. Just keep rolling the wax around till you get, oops, so going back down, he's decided to sit up a bit. Wax is starting to melt now. Just takes a little while to start it off. Make sure you've got a nice big blob on there to work with. But as you can see, it rarely ever is a really neat round shape like the manufactured ones are. But that, I believe, is what gives it the character. That should be enough now for a small one. So we've got our little feather here and an ink pot on there. Just leave it for a little while. It settles. It's quite hot, that one. So there you go, you've got an ink pot. an ink pot and a feather. Hopefully that's where you can see it, because I can't. And I'll do a couple of little cards on the white, because you'll probably be able to see that much better. Meanwhile, the house is burning over here. Alright, so do a couple of, whoops, that's upside down. A couple of little silvery ones. The silver is getting down a little bit. Obviously this is my favourite one because I use it a lot, and it's getting short. So I'll just put a little one in the corner here, just without anything to stick it to, so you can just see how it will go. So just keep slowly rotating it so that it hits your corners off evenly. And you can see that it's much rounder when you're just stripping it in one spot and you're not trying to stick anything down with it. It's a lot easier to get a rounder shape. It's running to one side, so there we go. We'll go just, that might have been a little bit too smaller amount on that one. So we'll do this one here. So we've got a little puddle. I might just have to speed this up a little bit. It's taking a long time to melt. You're probably all getting very bored. So just keep turning until we've got enough there to put your stamp on that you want to stamp. Okay, I think that's enough. So I'll use that one again. Just go in there. It's a little. There, that one's just about perfect. So that's probably as round as you're going to get, very round, and you can see that quite clearly, I think. So there you go, that's a little short lesson in how I do my wax seals, and you can use them to stick down little bits and pieces, or you can use them just on their own to seal an envelope, which is what they're supposed to be for. Okay, so we'll move that over out of the way. And here we've got the book that I actually have made for. This is called The Kiss, to go with this lovely set that Suzanne has designed. And I've made it as sort of a Valentine's book, but as I said, it could also be, you know, an engagement. It'd be lovely for a wedding book or anything like that. Gorgeous. So I'll bring my ephemera bits and pieces back in here and we'll put them into the book. Let's hope that's in the right place. So inside the book I have just put some old-fashioned lace, a lace doily with a pin on it so that you could add some nice little charm there. I've put a little floral fabric trim, and it's a beautiful soft silky fabric, really nice quality fabric, that one. And so I thought I might tuck into that maybe a tag, like perhaps this one might look nice in there, just to start the book off. And then on this side I have all thumbs, I can't get hold of the pages today. I've put this lovely picture from the Kiss collection, which is absolutely beautiful. She's got her little pixie hat on her coat, and he's all rugged up, it must be winter. And a little rose I put on the corner, trimmed it with a bit of lace, and tucked into that I've got some very antique piano accordion music, but it was called the Kiss, Bacio, Il Bacio in Italian. So I thought that went very well with it, and I've put just some tape down the middle where I folded it because it's so old, it's very delicate and antique. And that was a gift to me from Julie, I think. Bears and Old Lace gave me that. It's beautiful, and it works so well with this book, The Kiss. Plus it's my favourite chocolate, so that had to come into it. So here we've got a spot that I've put a little pocket so that we can put one of these lovely tags in there. And moving over, I've got some really old music paper from 1930, and that paper feels so nice. It's just got a lovely feel about it. I've left plenty of room for writing stuff or putting in cards, Valentines cards or things like that. So I've got another pocket here, so we could have one of the postcards maybe in there. And some more space to put things. Got the middle of the book here. Over here I've got this cute little tuck spot, which I thought that sweet little tag could go in, and this lovely bookmark. So we can tuck that down in behind, and that just finishes that little stacked pocket off nicely. There. Got a little fold out here with a girl and her teddy bear, and we've got a tuck spot here, so we could put something else maybe in there. Perhaps one of the postcards could go in there. So you've got that lovely little spot. So you can soon fill up one of these little books. That's the music paper. There's a little tuck spot there. These, where I've got the sort of blank pages, you can actually put these onto the pages and just clip them on with a little paper clip, so they just fit in there nicely, so they can be taken out. That way people can put whatever photos they like in there. So we could put another one there where we've got a blank page, and they go very well. They just hang on to the page and blend in really nicely. This beautiful pocket here, I made this with the coloured waxes, and I thought I'd put this lovely pocket design in there. Enjoy the little things. So we'll pop that in there. The colours go really, really well with that. It blends in there, so that looks quite pretty. So what have we got left? We've got another one of these gorgeous ones, which you can probably put in the front there. That goes there. So that's fitting onto a page there quite nicely. And this one here I thought would go on the front because that's my favourite. So I've just glued that one onto the front cover to give you an idea of what you could do with the ovals, and I think that just finishes it off nicely. And I've just really lightly gone over the embossed section with just a little bit of light ink to give it that aged look and blend it in. So there we've got the lovely little book, The Kiss, with all the lovely laces and all the pretty pages, all the dear little children So that gives you an idea of how they work and where to put them. But I'm sure that you've got heaps of lovely ideas that you could do to make your own style of ephemera and cards and beautiful things with this beautiful kit. It's just a simple little quick and easy book to collect your memories for a special occasion, something really nice. So there you go, that's that one. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll be back to catch you soon with another interesting journal, I'm sure. Thanks for watching. See you soon.